Now, his implant wasn't like what you described in a way. It was kind of looked like a grain of, if I remember right, of rice, but it was a metallic. It actually was composed of a silver with some other metal mixed in with it. And when Dr. Roger Lear sent it out to the lab to be analyzed, they came back. It was something that could not have been compounded on this earth. I do feel very strongly, Dave, that some people, for some reason, they select. I mean, but they are selecting, from what I hear, a lot of people, because I've had a lot of people that have been abducted, like Calvin Parker, Timothy Cullen, and a whole bunch of other people have been on my show. And, you know, I don't know. Have any of these encounters you ever had of being abducted, do you ever remember being in a craft, the UFO, being examined and all that stuff?
Yes, I do remember being in, I guess you could say, 3 craft. I was on one craft, and this is going to be a story I hope I can talk about. I've told my wife about it, so I guess it's okay. I went into this one craft, and it was like, it's all metallic walls. Everything's kind of stainless steel, and very, I guess you could say, very clean crafts that I've been on. And this one, I walked in, and there was an older gentleman, and I didn't see his face. A lot of times they don't show the face. And what I saw was his arm, and his arm he had spots of blue on him. Like the blue aliens they had back in India several thousand years ago. But this one had spots. He must have been a hybrid himself. I read a little bit later on that I studied some of this, and I found out that, wow, they're spotted blue people, whether they're hybrids. And this gentleman, or I guess he was a guy, I only saw his arm, and he motioned for me to get in under a sheet, a white, either a blanket or a sheet. And then there was a female laying there with long, dark hair. And I got in behind her, and then I must have had, I must have made a baby or something, because it felt like it. It was real, and it was kind of weird. And then after that, this guy got me back up. He took me to this panel, like I've seen this panel several times, and he motions for me to go down this hallway, which is only about 5 feet wide, and of course it must have been about 8 feet tall or whatever, because I'd had no problem with the height then. But it was 5 feet wide. I walked down this hallway, and I disappeared, and I come back, and I woke up, and I said, "Wow, what was that?" That was a regression. That I was on the ship, and I saw the ship, and I had copulation, I guess you could call it, with somebody, maybe a hybrid, partial blue alien. It's funny that a lot of times I don't see the faces, even in a dimensional episode I had in Sedona. I don't see their faces. They don't turn to you're just there to observe, I guess. And what these aliens do, that in my regressions, they don't look at me straight. I saw one straight on. I was on another ship. Now, I can't relate any of these ships or these very regressed, vivid dreams. I can't relate any of them to any of the UFOs I saw. They could be all mixed up in memory and time or whatever, but I can't relate what the regression was of what ship that I saw. But I was on another ship, and I was walking down a hall. I found myself coming from this little wide, it was about another 5 foot wide doorway, a pathway. Apparently that's how they send you back. So I come in, I was walking up this hallway in which there were metallic walls, shiny, and I could see like rooms. And then I walked, and I saw this big hall that had about maybe 200 other entities. I couldn't tell what they really looked like, but it looked like about 200 humanoid type entities. And there was 3 podiums. They were about 4 feet off the ground, and people were looking up at these things. And it was an entity with a little rope that was hanging on to a critter. The closest critter I could see, he looked kind of like a kangaroo, and he looked like something else with a big flat tail. Maybe it was another creation of some kind of animal, but there was three of them. But I couldn't see the other two because they were a little bit far away from me. But I thought to myself, this is kind of a Noah's Ark. It must have been a huge ship, a huge mothership. Well, I turned around, walked back, and there's a little black box on my right foot following me. I looked down at it. I wondered what that was. I just kept walking, and I saw these, I guess, females. They were in these white smocks or white gowns. And I can relate that to another time, too, with the smocks, with the younger hybrids on ship that I saw. But this one, I peered through the middle of them, and I saw a baby about 6 months old. It had three eyes, right straight across, not an eye above in the forehead, but it was right straight across. It'd be right across near our eyebrows, and they'd all be three altogether. And I looked at that and I said, "Whoa,
yeah,
what does that mean?" And you can't make this stuff up. I mean, it's something that you. This is, I know myself, when I saw these things and these regressed vivid dreams, I know I saw something. They were showing me something, or they left enough memory in me. They didn't erase it all. But then I walked away, and then I turned around and I saw this tall, I guess you can call her a Nordic alien, and she had no hair. She had big eyes. She wasn't scary, so I wasn't afraid of her. So maybe that's why they showed me her face, because the others were probably, I would probably be afraid of them, and somehow or another, they don't want you all shook up and to be rattled. They want to keep you calm. And so I saw this tall lady. She must have been about 6'6", 6'7", and she had a two-piece tan. I could see the color. It was tan on top, tan at bottom. It was two-piece, like a real short miniskirt, like. And she didn't scare me at all. I mean, she looked human, and looked very pleasing to the eyes. It wasn't fearful. So she come up to me, and she walked to this panel. She disappeared, and then she come back, and I looked at her and I said, "How did you do that?" And she just grimaced. It wasn't a smile or anything. She just kind of grimaced a little bit. And then she motioned for me to follow her down this hallway. Here we go again, 5 feet wide, about 7 or 8 feet tall hallway, in which you walk down it, and as you're walking, you disappear, and you go back to where you come from.
Interesting.
And that's the two ships that I was on. I was on another ship, which was dark and kind of dingy, and this what I could see was kind of like a baby face or a human young face with really bright blue eyes staring up at me. And then I went into this dark room, and then I saw, I guess, what you could call one of these insectoids, one of these insect creatures in which everybody's talking about. And I saw that, and he was kind of laying down and kind of looked over at me, and then that was the end of that regression.
Interesting.
So apparently I walked in and I saw the top dog, and must have, and then after that, I was back.
Now, I got to ask you a question, Dave. These people, like these women you saw that were kind of translucent, how tall were they? And what was their physical shape? Were they humanoid? Were they heavyweight, thin weight? I mean, what can you describe that you can remember?
No, the one lady who was laying down with long dark hair, she looked like to be about 5.5 feet tall, and she wasn't ugly either. I didn't see her face, but I knew that she was very much a female, and that she wasn't big or fat or anything. And the one that I saw that was kind of pale white, that was about 6'6", 6'7",
wow.
She was built very well. I mean, like you could just you can just carve them out or create them out of Play-Doh, and she was perfectly built, big woman. And she looked very strong, so I didn't want to mess with her. These entities, also the alien that I did see, 3.5 feet tall, he was an ugly little gray guy in the 1996. that I saw him near my bedside, and I was on my elbow and I was looking at him, and I was woke up because I my daughter comes in to get medicine out of our medicine cabinet in our master bedroom, and I thought it was her, and I was awake and I called out her name, but it was this little gray green guy that was standing there next to my bed, and I looked at him and I had fear for about 3 or 4 seconds. I remember I had a gush of fear go through me, adrenaline, and then everything went peaceful. It was all peaceful then after that. So I don't know what happened there. I don't know what they did. Did they take semen samples? Did they take blood samples? Or did they take me aboard one of these ships that I've been on? I was also, on another world, very vivid, another world. I don't know how, maybe, I don't know if that was in one of my abductions, but I remember 3 strong abductions because I was electrocuted almost in those abductions. So I remember those 3, and I remember the first one with the time loss. So I just, time with them, they can play with it. They know where you're going to be ahead of time. Somebody asked me a really important question, I guess. They made me think, Gary, that I don't know if you've heard this from other guests about if the ETs know how to time travel, or are they dimensional, or do they come here? I guess we don't really know. What's your opinion?
I don't know yet because, just recently they came to a conclusion and they actually saw something come out of a black hole back here about a month and a half ago. It makes me wonder, maybe they go through the black hole to get here, or they go through a portal. I don't know. Maybe they know how to go through time barriers. Maybe they're even our advanced humanoid race going back in time, trying to maybe save their generation by fixing up everything that's screwed up in our generation. I don't know. But it makes me wonder. I do think it's interesting that they actually got a photograph now of something coming out of a black hole, which they said nothing could ever exist coming back out of a black hole, going in and coming out, and which something did. And I don't know. I do think that's probably one way they get here. Yeah.
Personally, I can tell you my time experiences with this ET events is I've always went forward in time, and the only distance they went back in time is in my memory. They can extract your memories. They can extract sounds of your loved ones and people that you know, because they brought the sound of my sister's voice back, and she was dead 4 years before that incident happened, when I was really, really electrocuted with all that static, and I was frozen in bed looking out the door, and it was a bright sunny day, and her voice come across saying, "Hey, Dave, you can do it. Come on, Dave, you can do it." I said, "Do what, sissy?" That's what I called her. She says, "I can't come to the door. I can't come to the door." And I said, "Okay." So they're extracting your memory. They're going back in time. I also remember, I think after that first visit I had in 1963, I remember some things plainly. There's 3 things that I remember that they extracted from me, and I know they did. It was a kid's book, first grade kids book. I guess they wanted to know how we learned, or how I learned in particular. And it was a kid book that had rainbow on the back of it. I don't know. I've been looking for that type of book. It was back in, I guess, 55, 56, when they used these readers, they called them. And they had a rainbow with all the animals and critters around that rainbow. But that's what they extracted from me. And they extracted another thing, a movie. Remember Five Gates to Hell?
Oh, yes.
That movie?
Yes.
Yeah. That movie, I was 14, but I was attracted to Vera Miles for some reason. I don't know if it was a motherly thing or what it was at that age, but that movie they extracted from me. I remember those 2. There's one more thing I can't figure out what they extracted. I have that memory of that. So you do have those regressed memories within yourself. A lot of people go to hypnosis, but I'm not so sure that hypnosis is working so well. It didn't work for me one time. I put the hypnotizer asleep, herself. I put